All right, so welcome to the news review segment of the show. And guess what, today? But again, let me remind you that this is brought to us by Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic. They're doing free screening and fertility screening as well. So get around all their branches, any one which is close to you, and ensure that you are screened for free. You can find one in Takrade at the Anaje Estate, Spintex, and then in Kumasi as well as in Sunyai. So ensure that you pass by and get screened. But today I am going to do this. Usually it's me and Ben, but today I'm doing this with my Nzima brother, Joseph Ackah-Blay. Midiema, Kodio. Better.
Okay.
Good. You know, some of you don't know Ackah-Blay can speak in Nzima, but today,
Yeah. I do my best under the circumstances.
No, but that's really good. Because you in Nzimas have done really well. Because irrespective of where you are, you try to still speak your language.
Yeah.
So I think that we'll have to give it to you.
I don't have much of an excuse. I'm 100% in Nzima. Like 100%. Yeah, my dad in Nzima, my mom in Nzima. So, unfortunately, though it wasn't the medium of communication mainly, and because of school, moving around and stuff, and just having a chance to visit my hometown once in a while, I'm not as fluent as I would want to be, but the understanding is like perfect.
It's there, yeah. But it's good. I mean, for us as hunters, in the past we were just hiding. So you meet someone who's very influential, but he doesn't speak it, so you don't know he's a hunter. You know, it's just recently that we have said that no, we cannot continue on that path.
Yeah.
So we are trying to speak it to our children. Maybe we'll catch up with you in Zemes, but you have taken the lead, and you know. So maybe we'll say good morning to your uncles.
Yeah, my Nzima people from Ekwe, yeah, Elembele constituency. I'm sure they are watching.
Your hometown is Ekwe, eh?
Yes.
Oh,
in the Elembele constituency.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now that place is beautiful. I mean, Nzima area is beautiful.
Yeah, and you know, it's because of the Ghana gas and all those things that is happening. And Ekwe, particularly within the constituency, is quite very developed if you compare to the other areas.
I think that's where you have that hospital.
Yes, the hospital, yes.
Yeah,
that's the
very popular hospital.
You know the place well.
Oh, no, I mean. Anyway, so I have with me the Daily Graphic newspaper, and I have the Daily Statesman as well. What do you have?
I have the Daily Guide and the Finder newspaper.
Okay, so that's what we'll be doing. But this morning, we've heard there's a new development in the Anas case. I mean, you've been following. The judgment was that he will show his face to the parties in the chamber of the judge, but we're hearing something different now.
Yes, and so Tiger Eye Private Investigations, that is the investigative company that we know belongs to Anas, they've issued a statement this morning indicating that Anas has declined the offer, so he's not going to testify anymore because they say that the conditions that have been fixed by the court endangers him. They explain that this particular case, the key witness in it should have been Ahmed Hussein Swale. We know Ahmed Swale did the number 12 investigations. He was the key guy who was interacting with the various individuals who were caught on tape. And Ahmed Swale was killed. And so they said that once he died, in fact, they said at the time of his death, he had been engaging the Aegis officials preparing to testify in court. So when he was killed, then Anas opted to testify in his stead on condition that his identity will be protected. And so, as it stands now, they make the point that the current conditions that have been fixed, it will mean that Kwesi Nyantakyi and his lawyers will have the opportunity to see his face.
Okay.
And they don't think that conforms to the agreement that he reached with the Attorney General's office. So, under that circumstances, they said that he is an undercover journalist. His identity is what keeps him safe. And if that is exposed to anyone, it puts him under such risk. And so, under those circumstances, he's not going to testify anymore.
But what does that mean? Because when the judge gave the judge that is a directive, can you go against it? Can you decide not to accept it?
I mean, it's a ruling of the court on a request made by the Attorney General. Okay. So he is the Attorney General's witness. So what that means going forward is that the AG would have to take a position or decide on the matter. So they have to decide, are we going to compel him to come and testify because they can issue a subpoena to compel him to come and testify. In which case, you risk, if he comes, he may not be a witness that will cooperate with you. You come in as a hostile witness. He may not, when you ask him the questions, he may not give you the answers that will help your case. So that is one option. The other option is that they may decide that, okay, look, this matter, you are the one who have gone to do your investigation, you brought it. If you are not going to help us, then we are not going to prosecute it at all.
Oh.
Then there's the final option of having someone else, maybe a police investigator, who has also investigated this matter based on the evidence that was given to also come and testify. But the challenge that presents is that you risk the lawyers for Kwesi Nyantakyi raising objections about hearsay. I mean, if the investigator is tendering you something, will say that this is not something that you uttered or this is not something that you took yourself. So authenticity issue, among others, then the court would have to be ruling on all those objections, whether those matters will be sent in. In fact, I've tried to reach out to the AG's office following that statement, and what we understand is that it will have to be a decision that is taken at the highest level of the department, i.e. the minister would have to direct them, the prosecutors handling this case, on the way forward, because as it stands now, I mean, they would have to take a decision before the next date, which is in June, if I remember correctly, and at that day, they are supposed to produce a witness to testify. It doesn't necessarily have to be Anas, but Anas was supposed to be the first witness. So that's what they have to decide now.
But aside Anas, do they have other witnesses? Do we know?
Yes, we know that they have other witnesses. There are police investigators who are also scheduled to testify in this particular matter.
Interesting. Well, so that's the latest twist to that particular issue here. Let's start off with the Daily Graphic. It says debt restructuring, nation seeks $10.5 billion in savings. Government optimistic of fruitful engagement, citing Oforiatta. Now, adhere strictly to IMF target, to economists, to government, and rice importation will cease, according to Josh Spawn. Okay, so now on the nation seeking 10.5 billion, it says the government is targeting an external debt relief of 10.5 billion between this year and 2026 as it engages its external creditors for debt restructuring. The International Monetary Fund has reported. The external creditors include bilateral and commercial creditors. The government announced a suspension of debt service on external commercial obligation on December 19 last year and has since been engaging with them on a debt restructuring. The government is seeking to restructure external commercial debt of $14 billion, out of which $13 billion are in bonds. Following the formation of the creditor committee of the Paris Club backed by China, the government is also expected to begin debt restructuring negotiations with its bilateral creditors in the coming days in a bid to restructure debt of about $5.4 billion. At a press conference yesterday by the IMF in the United States capital, Washington, D.C., the Minister of Finance, Ken Oforiatta, said the government was looking forward to a fruitful engagement with its bilateral and private creditors in the days ahead as the country worked towards achieving debt sustainability that would anchor economic stability.
I mean, some good news there. We are told that the $600 million will hit the account today, according to the governor of the Bank of Ghana. So, I mean, we'll see how that one goes.
Yeah, but again, people are worried about the usage of those revenues. Government has explained that this $600 million will be used to sponsor government project. Question is, what particular project? Because we're looking at projects that may probably earn some revenues in the long term. For example, if you push it into road and that road is probably towed, it could bring in revenue in the near future. If we put it in social interventions, we may not see the benefit now. Yesterday, I spoke to a lawyer who said that he supports government investment into social investment, like social project like school feeding programs, free senior high school. You won't see the benefit now, but in the long run, you would have human resource that would otherwise, but for these projects, might not have been developed to the level they will. So I don't know what government project this government wants to invest the $600 million in, but we may probably need more details to understand what they want to invest into.
In fact, there's this, the document that was released by the IMF, there's a part of it that talks about, it gives a sense of the conditions, and the IMF expects government to limit expenditure, and they are asking for a reprioritization of capital projects. So that is the road and those things that you are talking, you made reference to. And so we know that even though government says they are going to use the money to support the government projects, we know that there's a limit on that of sorts. They can't do all the capital projects that they want to do. Again, the finance minister said in that press conference yesterday that we have a deficit. So the budget we are running on currently, in simple terms, we don't have our revenue meeting what we intend to spend on. So this will also just provide that cover to give us space in order to do some of the things that we would want to do. But yes, I agree with you that it obviously means, like the IMF is suggesting, that we need to decide which ones are the priority ones, because we can't just be acting as business as usual in these circumstances.
Now all the routes that were probably stopped might resume, but of course, which of them? And the ones that are being sponsored with the Sino-Hydro, probably after negotiation with China, might resume, and then we will see some works being done. Let's look at the rice importation to cease, and that's by Jospon, who is saying this. Why is he saying that? Now he says that the chairman of the Jospon Group of Companies, Dr. Joseph Ackah-Blay, has vowed that with the advent of the Jospon Group Rice Project, the importation of rice into the country will be minimized, if not stopped. That, he said, was because wherever the Jospon Group of Companies detected a problem, it was always ready to confront and solve it. Quote, where we see a problem, we confront and solve it. And with this project that we have begun, the importation of rice must stop, he said. Now, Dr. Ackah-Blay said this at a two-day Food Security Conference 2023 held at Gomua Fete in the Central Region and organized by the JGC in collaboration with the Asian African Consortium and the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research. It was on the theme Enhancing Food Security, the Role of Ghanaian Scientists, and brought together scientists, researchers, government officials, and other stakeholders in the rice and agricultural industry. Well, we've always had this idea of import substitution. Yeah. One of them, which was rice, we began some time ago. We're making some progress, but here comes this man who says that, look, and we've all been reading about the sort of steps that he's taking. Looking at what he's done till this point, what confidence must we have that indeed this is probably the time which could lead us to end the importation of rice or reduce it to the barest minimum?
I mean, I think there ought to be some government action. I mean, he's a businessman. The best we can expect from him is that the product that he'll be putting on the market will be of the quality that will be good enough. But we know from experience of other nations like Nigeria, I have been to Ethiopia, Rwanda, Botswana. Look, their rice doesn't taste
as good as ours.
I mean, unfortunately, I have to say that. Sorry if they are watching. I mean, it doesn't taste as good as the largely imported rice that we consume in Ghana. But that is what they consume. And these are high-end hotels.
So it means that you won't taste foreign rice there.
I mean, what I ate, it doesn't taste like the foreign rice that we are used to, that we eat here. It's not of that quality. And a lot of the interaction with the staff at the restaurants, these are high-end hotels, 5-star, 4-star hotels. They make the point that this is what they are supposed to acquire. I mean, so everywhere we've seen that rice revolution take place, there's some sort of government.
So deliberate policies by government.
Yes. I mean, the starting point, food buffer stock, they buy food. Why are they buying imported rice, the buffer stock, for senior high schools? We should get to the level where the government takes a decision that all government purchases, we have to buy the local rice. So, I mean, if there are companies that are under 1D1F that are into rice production, we serve as a market for them. So they just send those rice to the schools. You can imagine.
There are, unfortunately, I'm a player in the rice value chain. One of the factories I work for is a 1D1F factory. Yeah. But they're not selling to buffer stock because, as usual, they sell to buffer stock and it will take them years to pay. And this is a young company. You need a revolving fund. So you cannot get your fund stuck with government for all those money. So one thing government can do then is that for these companies, buffer stock, if you buy, pay.
Yes.
So that they will have,
because the ones they import, they don't buy them in that kind of manner. In fact, there are instances. The reason why sometimes we have the food shortages is simply because they've not purchased the rice and sent them. So we should be able to be deliberate about wanting to assist our local companies through such measures. Because, I mean, look, Mr. Ackah-Blay can set up his business, and there are people, like you are saying, there are companies that are doing the rice. But when there's no market for them, because if you can imagine if they are eating the local rice in the high school, I mean, people can say, oh, it's not nice, what. Over time, the next generation of us, they will be used to that kind of rice. Because when I ate the rice in Rwanda, in Ethiopia, this is not rice that if I have the rice, imported rice in Ghana here, I will definitely eat the Ghanaian one. But I didn't have any choice, So I ate it.
Okay.
And that's the point that we should get to.
Okay.
Because it is how we are going to survive. I mean, we've unfortunately acquired such things. The other option too is to make it very expensive for the rice,
imported rice.
So that if you decide that you want to eat the imported rice because of the acquired taste, then we are going to get a lot of money from you. So that it makes up for the deficit of not being able to support the local production that we are supposed to get.
There's also another thing we need to solve. That's the production deficit.
Yeah.
Because sometimes, look, it's been so many months since I supplied one of my product because we're not getting it. So with Mr. Siao's involvement and probably from government's participation, we should find out how we can bridge the gap between these production, lapses, such that we'll have continuous production all throughout. And it's about mechanizing our farms.
Yeah.
We don't mechanize farms in this country. We rely on rainfall, and that's why. And rice requires a lot of water.
Yeah.
So how are we ensuring that our rice farms have access to water? That's why the one village, one dam policy was a good one, but implementation has been so bad, such that those up north who really, their weather is not like us in the south. In the north, there is a long period of dryness, so they would have needed these dams to work. But where are they? So government has to be very, strategic and very aggressive when it comes to the rice sector, such that even if we are not mechanizing the agricultural sector in general, as for the rice sector, we should find ways of making water available to them all throughout.
Yeah.
So that throughout the year we can have local rice. Because look, the rice I used to supply, it is delicious. When you
I mean, I purchased some from you.
Yeah.
I mean, all those I've given some to eat. No one has come to me to say that this one tastes differently. They just eat it and move on. I mean, until I say that, do you know that this is made in Ghana? Then they're like, oh, really? So it's not all of the local rice that really do not taste as we want them.
Delicious. But the thing is that we are not able to produce it all year round. Yeah. Again, the banks too sometimes would have to have specialized arrangement for these farmers. You remember the Nigerian boom, which was led by a Ghanaian, Abraham Odum. He explains that when he went there, he told the central bank that, look, you cannot give farmers loans at the same interest like commercial entities.
Yeah.
So you have to have a specialized facility for them. And that's why the central bank came on board in the case of Nigeria to say that, okay, we'll give them this loan with these sort of conditions, which was different. So they give the farmers the room to then produce and come. That's why Nigeria had that boom last year that we're all celebrating. Yeah. What is our plan really? Because we do talk about it and then you don't see any strategy to help the farmers.
Yeah.
The guys that I used to work with complained that the sort of heat that the banks brought on them. So we should find a way to really, end this production lapses that we do find. This guy, this MP, what's his name? Is it Minta Kando? He's also doing some fantastic work in this rice thing. Oh. So we should, and his rice is also really good. So we should find a way of probably bringing all of these guys together. Really have a roundtable discussion to understand the real challenges. Yeah. Water is really huge. Yeah. How are we working to break that one? We should. And work at financing as well. Because when we work, when we deal with the accessibility of water and then proper financing, which will then give room to these guys to produce and produce well. Look, what we can do in this country. And it creates a lot of jobs. Yeah. Look, when I supply, at least even if I make 1 cedi on a 5 kg bag, and I supply, say, 100,000 in a month. How much am I making? I'm making 100,000 Ghana cedis in a month. Me, a young guy like me. But that's what you do.
Yeah.
So when you do that, the rice farmer produces, like someone like Mr. Essenya Japan, packages the rice so well. And then me, supplier, I go for it and distribute all over Western region. And I make my cut. Yeah. And that's how you build billionaires. Yeah. It's a strategy that the Chinas and some countries have used.
We have to connect industry
exactly
their needs and help them to be able to survive.
So if this works so well that I'm able to supply 100,000 5 kgs in a month, in a year, how much am I making? Yeah. I'm making so much money. Yeah. And you see, I also create jobs because then I'll need more hands to supply the rice to all over Western region. So you would see the spiral effect. Yeah. You create a lot of jobs. Yeah. So really, we did one district, one factory it wasn't really connected so well. We should connect it. You know, one district, one factory to one buffer stock to 1D, one dam. There should be a synergy between them. But it looks like we don't have. That's also a problem. Synergy between governmental policies. We don't have it. So you know. It's a whole discussion that we need to have, really. If we want to develop the agricultural sector in this country, we should have a proper discussion. It's not the disjointed workshops and seminars we do have. We should have synergy between policies. I don't see that. No. Like you just explained here, there should be a way that buffer stock will be buying from these 1D, 1Fs. How do we have it? There should be a synergy between the policy that is guiding the one village, one dam. We should be aggressive, but this country looks like we are too good in drafting policies and keeping them on shelves and not really implementation bit of it. So really, let's see how we can move this forward. But it's interesting. We hope that Mr. Senior Japan will really achieve his aim, because it looks like he is coming on board as a very big player, and the sort of jobs that could be created from this. Let's end this with a daily graphic. Let's move on. Let me quickly do the daily guide and I find that the front page of the daily guide has that IMF story about IMF being proud to partner Ghana, and Baumia campaign heats up. It has a photograph of the vehicles that has the vehicles actually have Baumia written on them with his photograph. Nana receives Guinea-Bissau State Award. Man 40 molest girl 10. Very sad news there. The Economic and Organized Crime Office is chasing SIM fraudsters. The story is in the daily guide, and the back page has some sports stories. Ancelotti denies losing Real job, and City can now visualize a treble. It's a story that I have to read because of producer Echo. Yeah, Pep Guardiola says his Manchester City players can visualize the treble after trashing Real Madrid to reach the Champions League final. They'll be playing against Manchester United, I think, in the FA Cup. Yes, FA Cup final. Yeah, and that's why we are saying that we are the only ones left now. Oh, you also support Manchester? Oh, yeah. True and true. That's unfortunate. We are the only... why is it unfortunate? You're not a good team. Which team do you support? I support the Spanish champions, Barcelona, and declared Spanish champions a couple of days back, I think on Saturday or Sunday. Yeah, we are the champions of Spain. Are you the champions of England? The referee aided. No, are you the champions of? No, I'm hold on. No, if you. I am. Are you the champion? I am the 20 times champion of the. Are you okay? In the last 5 years, have you been champions of England? Oh yeah, I've won. I think I won the committee. You won the Premier League in the last 5 years. Don't worry. I mean. No, it's a yes or no. What is yes or no here? As in yes or no to the question of whether you've won the Premier League in the last 5 years. I almost won it last year. I almost won it 2 seasons ago. I was second. Yeah. So and then I beat City to it in the FA Cup in the last. So that is the state of affairs for Manchester United. No, it's not a state of affairs. Unlike we are still the most valued club, at least in England. Yeah. In the world, we are second after Real Madrid. Your neighbors across the city are in the Champions League final. In the last 6 years, they've won, I think, 4 out of the 6. They'll win a record, fifth, actually. They are going to win. And that's their record. In fact, they have the chance. No, hold on. That's their record. Fifth. No, I mean... We have 20. No, you see, I mean, if you are, assuming you are someone who is in you are in your early teenage years, now, you know what you'll be saying will be history to that person. Oh, no. 2013. Our last was just 2013. It's how many years? Yeah, but if you're 10 years ago. If you are 13 years old, how old were you when they... oh, no, forget it. He doesn't even know a lot about football. I mean, look. And we will end... In fact, but you know, this can fall through. This dream of getting a treble. Yeah, of course. It can break. Totally. Yeah, because when Manchester United stop them, and I know Inter Milan will stop them, then they are only left with Premier. Even that, if something happens and then they lose this weekend, they pick it. That's the thing. Yeah. So Chelsea would have to do, and Chelsea has become one useless team. But if useless in quote, because now you can't they're not doing well. You can't even trust them to beat anybody. In fact, they just won one match recently. Yeah. They've been losing consistently. So if they really want to be useful, they really want to be useful to the football fraternity. The only help they can do is to stop Manchester City. Exactly. Yeah. So they should stop City, and then we all pray that Arsenal. At least we have to help Arsenal. You know, this is the thinking that the smaller teams have. You not win the league. You not do your own thing to win the league. Then against
Against supporters, you know. Oh. We ain't share with him. That's what you had.
But you know, we beat Barcelona.
Yes, so you knocked us out of.
Yeah, so it means that we are not a smaller team at all.
Yeah, but
we only want to help Arsenal to win a league. It's been so many years since they won. You know, someone like Fred. Sometimes when you see him, you pity him. So at least they should have some joy. You know, even though they blew it all up by themselves, but we can still help them. So Chelsea can beat City this weekend. The other matches they can lose, and then if Arsenal can win, because if Arsenal, when City lose and Arsenal also lose, that means that City, even though they are losing, will still win the league.
Unfortunately, Arsenal is playing this weekend before City. City will be playing on Sunday, so someone was actually drawing my attention that if Arsenal drop points, City will even win the league before they even play the last game.
Yeah, that's the thing. But I hope that Arsenal wins. Just that Arsenal, you cannot trust them.
Yeah,
they are not a trustworthy team. But let's see how it goes. But the thing is that Manchester, for us, we believe that we can stop City. We can win the FA Cup from them. And then they can go ahead and win a double. Because as for the treble, the only team in England that can do it and will remain in history to have done it is Manchester United. The only team.
We'll see.
Under the best ever manager Britain has ever produced. Sir Alexander Ferguson. Okay. Yeah, that's it. That's how it's going to be. Anyway, let me do the Daily Statesman now. Now, when we said Chelsea, okay, no, I won't say. I heard some shout for the Chelsea. I know one of
in the back room are interested in
one of our sound guys is a Chelsea fan, but I pity him. We should forgive us.
Turn off your microphone.
He cannot. The thing is that his team has become one beans of a sort. Everybody trashes it, and we have an understanding with them.
Yeah.
So they should be ready. They should come with backs. Anyway. Daily Statesman, 600 million IMF money hits BOG coffers today. Let's see what becomes of it. In team rally support for Yahweh Nim in Kumewu by-election, Nigeria's PDP urges African leaders to boycott Tinubu's inauguration. That story is also really generating some heat there. Land administrator equips officers to optimize revenue mobilization. Local government to be petitioned over funds for Achemansa district. Okay. Now, let's look at the Kumewu by-election and the PDP one. Now, you know PDP, our own colleague, Blessed Soga, is in the country covering that particular election petition for us. Yeah. Now, it says African leaders have been advised by Nigeria's major opposition party, People's Democratic Party, PDP, to abstain from the country's impending inauguration ceremony, which will see President-elect Bola Ahmed Tinubu take the oath of office. Speaking exclusively to the Daily Statesman, the spokesperson for the PDP presidential candidate Atiku Abubakar Otumba Segun Showumi. Nigerians have some fantastic names there. Yeah. Sweet names.
Heavy names.
Yeah, listen to this. Otumba Segun. So they pronounce, I think they pronounce Shegun, right? So Otumba Segun Showumi said it is time African leaders put aside their familiarity among themselves and not partake in what he described as an embarrassing democratic heist. We would advise a lot of African countries to reconsider attending this upcoming inaugural ceremony. They will be invariably lending themselves to a very embarrassing democratic heist. Our recommendation is that African leaders must show more than a passing interest in using their attitude, conduct, and utterances. One of the things they could do is to boycott inauguration, not because they want to be involved in our issue, but because they want the court to adjudicate, unquote, he said. Do you think it's something African leaders... Okay, what do you think the attitude of leaders should be to this particular inauguration?
It's a tricky situation, but I mean, anyone who has studied a bit of public international law will tell you that, I mean, generally state recognition. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's the state of Nigeria that we know it to be. The state of Nigeria is installing a president. Mm-hmm. I mean, so the state of Ghana recognizes the state of Nigeria. Mm-hmm. So there's nothing wrong with Ghana attending that particular ceremony. That's what's happened in the, if you remember, the Kufuor attending the inauguration of John Mahama, the first one, because of the election petition that had been filed by the NPP. Mm-hmm. You know, the party members tried to stop him from attending.
Exactly. Because they stayed away.
Yeah, and Kufuor said, no, he's a statesman. He has elevated beyond partisan considerations. And so it's a state event. So he ought to attend. I don't find anything wrong with African leaders attending it. It's a dispute. I mean, there's no elections anywhere in the world that people, the losers don't allege that it has been rigged one way or the other. Mm-hmm. There's no single election. In the US, Trump said the thing has been stolen. Right here in Ghana, John Mahama said the same thing and go to court. But the thing is that when you go through the legal process, we all stand by and watch. In the event the court upholds the argument and declares that the man was not validly elected, the person who has to be installed, or if there's to be fresh election, the person who wins, the other states that attended the event will still recognize that person as the president. So it doesn't really change anything in the scheme of things to warrant the kind of demand they are making of the African leaders who may want to attend this particular ceremony.
Like it happened in Kenya. It went to court, but there was an inauguration. People attended. In Ghana, in 2013, we were in court, but there was an inauguration. And even in 2020, they were in court, but there was an inauguration. So that's it. Now, okay, well, I think we've spoken about the IMF issue. The national chairman of the MPP, Stephen Tim, has urged the people of Cameroon not to vote for any other candidate in the upcoming by-election except the party's candidate, NST Awenim. Mr. Tim, who is currently in the Cameroon constituency, made a call as part of his campaign for the MPP candidate ahead of the by-election slated for May 23, 2023. So that's like next Tuesday.
Tuesday, yeah.
Wow. Yeah. I'm sure by now there are development projects taking place in Cameroon.
Yeah, I think we should be checking on that. By now they are pouring quota on it.
Yeah. When I was in the Western region, there was one in Amenfi West. You know, there was one MP called Jetia, and he passed. Yes, I think that's Amenfi West. At midnight, they were asphalting roads.
Yeah, the same thing happened at Ayawaso West.
And I was like, wow. Then we should have a lot of by-elections. No, MP should not wait till they die.
Yes.
They themselves should think about their constituency to say that, okay, I'm stepping down. Because when you step down, there'll be by-election. And then the project that you couldn't do in your tenure will then be done for your constituency. You are the hero. Yeah. So I think constituents should probably avert our minds to this. That MP, step down, let them have a by-election. We'll give that credit to you that during your time, this project came because you stepped down, you know. Because really, government will wait till there's a by-election before they go ahead to do a developmental project. But let's see how this election goes. Yeah, let's wrap it all up with the final.
The final, yes, the front page. Parliament to petition local government on behalf of Achimansa districts and 25 police regions to offer criminal clearance services, and journey to rebuild economy augmented $604 million from IMF to hit BOG accounts today. Leap school feeding, others strengthened. Then former Upper East MPP chairman rallies support for Dr. Baumia is also on the front page of the Finder. I think that will be we've virtually looked at most of the stories here. So I think that will be all for the papers from
Okay. Anyway, just that the Baumia campaign is heating up.
Yes.
Now they say they call something "It is possible."
Yes.
I think that's the slogan that
and they are using. I've seen a symbol of it, like
may connect it.
Yeah. Wi-Fi taps, so like connected. Okay, we have heard them.
But he hasn't declared,
he will soon. I think the party is supposed to open nomination sometime next week. So we expect that. I mean, obviously, once they open, he would have to formally make that declaration.
But it's serious. So being a vice president and still campaigning, it's kind of weird, isn't it?
I mean, we see the presidents do it when they are seeking re-election. So I guess just that, I mean, in this particular instance, he's the vice, and the economic situation that we find ourselves in and all those things. It's a whole lot. But I'm sure he's done all that permutation and analysis and decided that, I mean, it is possible.
Like they say, it is possible. So let's see how they'll go. But that will be a really interesting contest within the MPP. I don't see them having more than 5 people to run. So are we sure we might have that super delegate conference?
I mean, I actually think
because for now we have
maybe more than 5 because there's Joe Gate, Kwabene Japan,
2.
There's Kennedy Japan.
3.
Yes, there's Baumia. There's
Alan, and then there's Ada 6, and then
6.
And then the former energy minister.
Wache Jako.
So 7. That's why.
And others that we may not be aware. Maybe we would have the. But me, if I have to decide for the party, I like one-time voting.
Yeah.
Like we vote and nobody know who they win. Then, the win is gone. Because the danger is that when they do the first one, and
this person leads.
Is in the lead.
Says I'm in the lead already. Yeah. So let me,
exactly. Then there's also the danger that if there's a runoff, the party may feel like, okay, when we voted, everyone was leaning towards Brace, so let's just vote for Brace. It's the second one always influences the initial one.
Yeah.
So it's very dangerous. That is how come I personally, I'm always for the one time. Yeah, 2 years when we announce, then you see that this person has won. Then we'll go to sleep quietly.
Interesting. Let's see how that plays out, but we wish them all the best. Like the NDC did in the Agbana case. They said, well, he led by one, isn't it? It's not his fault, so let's give it to him. And then they give it to him. Yeah, that's it for the news review segment. Grateful to you, my brother Joseph Ackah-Blay. Office, Kenny. That's it. All right.